This week's unit is about Martin Luther and the Reformation he ignited in 16th century Germany. However, to truly understand any historical event, we need to know what causes and conditions led up to that change. So it won't make sense without that. Hence, we need to back up a little and review the church prior to Martin Luther. So for the first roughly 1,000 years after Jesus was crucified and a new religion called Christianity emerged, the church was, at least on paper, in theory, a unified single entity. Differences had crept up over the centuries between the churches in the East and the churches in the West. The West meaning most of Europe, the East meaning Greece, Turkey, North Africa, the Middle East. Some things they disagreed with each other over included the use of unleavened bread during communion. The churches in the East absolutely resented it when the Western Church under the Pope tried to enforce the policy against their priests not being married, so differences emerged. Then suddenly in the year 1054, Pope Leo IV, who incidentally died like a month or two later after this happened, excommunicates the Patriarch of Constantinople. Constantinople is in Turkey. So this is essentially his equivalent in another city. They're supposed to be equals. But the Pope asserted his authority over all the other patriarchs. Unsurprisingly, they rejected it and they resented it. And the Great Schism of 1054 happened and the once unified church split. So moving forward, when we talk about the church in places like Greece, Russia, what is now Lebanon, Syria, etc., we mean Eastern Orthodox. For most of Europe, and this is what matters for our part of this lesson, when we say the church, we mean Roman Catholic. So if you were, back in those days, if you were a German, a Swede, a Frenchman, an Englishman, Dutch, Polish, whatever, you were Catholic. Now the church at this time wields a great deal of power. Monarchs were sometimes deferential. The Pope was often the most powerful person in Europe. The church was able to tax people. It was able to censor people. It was able to spend money as it saw fit with very little oversight. If they decided you were a heretic, your life could be over. So the church at this point is a very powerful entity, and that can lead to unintended consequences, which we'll discuss.